Hello, hey, welcome back to my video again. So, hope you are enjoying your day so far. So, earlier video we have covered about the Remix IDE where we are going to define our smart contract using the Solidity language. And if you've not seen my videos, then previous videos, then you can just go ahead and have a look, or I will just give you a quick glance in this video as well. So let's move on to the Remix IDE so I can explain you better. So Remix IDE, let's put the enter, and the very first thing we have to just open it, and it may take a little bit time. It's depending on your network speed. So now here we are in the Remix IDE, the front page. And you remember, like we have created in the previous video that our workspace name is a Solidity demo, and under the contract we have defined our variable type. I mean, not variable type, the file type as a variable name. And here we are going to write some of our keywords or the smart contract or the very first code in the Solidity. So let me just give you the quick glance of the Remix IDE in this video as well, so you don't need to go and watch for the previous video to only understand about the Solidity. So yeah, let me just give you the quick glance over here. So this bar is basically called as a control panel, and this is a little box over here. It's horizontal, and this part is called a side panel, and this is known as a main panel. And here is your terminal panel where you're going to see your desired output, or maybe the the problem which occur, and if your code is not going to be compiled, or is there any error, or whatever the messages output you are going to see over here after writing your smart contract. And whenever you go and hit the deploy button, it will give you the output in the terminal. So you might aware about that as a programmer. If you are not, then this is just a recap from the previous video. And here we are going to define our workspace. Like workspace is basically meaning of like what sort of project you are working under. So if it is health tech, fintech, edtech, or whatever you name it. So in this case, we are going to use the Solidity language over here. That's why I created Solidity demo. And under the contract, we have to just define our file name, which is I defined as a variable to write our first code. So let's get started, and hope you remember we have talked about whenever we are going to define our first code, then we have to just follow some parameters over here in the Solidity. And the very first thing, if you remember, so we are going to define our version of the Solidity first, right? So define our version or Solidity version. So here, how we are going to define that? So there is a, the predefined rule where you have to just place this keyword. It's pragma. I'm sorry, my bad. Pragma Solidity and caret 0.6.0 terminal close. My bad. It's not 6, it's 0. Okay. So we have defined, or let me just zoom it out a little bit so you can understand. Oh, I'm sorry. Hope this will be visible to you, everybody, in a clear and crystal pictures. So after the defining our version of the Solidity, we are going to define our contract, right? But before go ahead and define our contract, so let's understand first of all what is the keywords mean, and why that keywords present over here, and what is the spatial meaning putting this sort of keywords in the Solidity. So the pragma. So the pragma is the keywords where the pragma says whatever the version you defined, whatever the version of the Solidity language you define, that code, the all entire code below side is going to be compiled in the same version in other language or in other term. So the pragma says whatever the codes or whatever the logic you are going to define, so that logic is going to compile with this version only. All right. And what is this implicit sign says? Why, if we are just, take remove, I mean, remove that the sign, it was not going to affect our code at all. Then why we are keeping in that? So very simple. So whenever we are not keeping the implicit sign or the caret sign or the cap sign in the program, I mean, before defining our contract, then it says like whatever the logic you are going to define here, and that logic is going to be compiled with this version only. As I earlier said, like what is the difference then? So the difference is, let me just put the cap on. So the difference is, only if you are just putting the implicit sign. So whenever your subversion change, let me just tell you what is subversion. So this 6 is the middle things, it's called as a main version of the Solidity language, right? And this is called a subversion. So the cap says, the implicit sign says, whenever your subversion is going to replace with one version or two or three or four or five, whatever, so that compilation or that code is going to be compiled automatically. You don't need to just go ahead and put it the version number and hit the compile button. No. So that implicit sign is stand for and responsible for whatever the version is got changed, so it can implement it or it can I mean compile with this version. You don't need to explicitly go and change your version, right? So hope my point is clear. Without this, that only you can just, going to compile with this version. And if whenever you are just going for 6.1, then you have to just compile your code again implicitly. Let me just put it over here. So, and this cap here is only stand for main version. Like, um, as I said, the 6 or middle thing is a main version. So the implicit sign, there is a condition for implicit sign. So implicit sign says like yours when until and unless your main version is not going to be changed, then the cap says like I will be okay whatever the subversion is going to become, then I can accept that. But the moment your main version got changed, then the meaning of the caret or implicit sign or the cap, whatever that you can say, that is not going to act as it is acting in this case. So there is no meaning to putting cap, or it is not going to behave as desire we want. So hope my point is clear to you. So without it, it is going to compile with the same version, and whenever the Solidity version got changed, you have to just come again in your basic codes, and you just compile your code with latest version or whatever the version is required. And if you're just putting this, whatever the subversion is going changed, it will compile automatically. But if the main version got changed there, the caret or the cap meaning is meaningless basically. All right, so hope my point is clear to you. And what else? What else we are going to do after that? So there is another way to define a version. Let me tell you here. So let me just put my first code. Basically, whenever you are commenting or whenever you are putting two forward slash of any of your comments, or whenever you are define or highlight anything, you have to just put the two forward slash, and after that you can just write whatever you want to define, or it's just a brief or the understanding about the code or logic which you are going to define after it. I mean over here. So this is a quick glance, or you can just say this is the highlight. So hope you understand if you are from the coding background. If it is not, then this two-forward slide is basically going to comment your thing, which is not going to compile or deploy with your code. This is going to be discounted by the Remix IDE in Solidity language. So there is no meaning. This is just for your reference. That's it. You have to just this thing, remember? That's it. Okay, so there is another way to define you know, um, the version of the solidity. So the logic will be same. Pragma solidity. Oh, my bad. Pragma solidity greater than equal to, I'm sorry, equal to 0.6.0. All right, so pragma solidity is greater than equal to with this particular version, and also on the same time it is less than 7, I'm sorry, 0.7.0 terminate. So this says like whenever your version or the pragma solidity version or the solidity version is greater than 6.0, I mean 0.6.0, there is no problem. It will go and compile just like this. And you are also putting less than symbol over here to define that like your version should not be greater than 0.7.0. So this is the way you can just define your version, or you can just change the variety or of your version to define them. So it's up to you, like whichever you wanted to go ahead and define that is totally up to you, and whichever is easier way for you. All right, so let me go ahead and define my second line of the code, which is, hope you remember, like after defining our contract, so we are going to jump directly to defining our contract, right? So, okay, let me just put the command first. Defining the contracts. So here is my contract variable because we took the file name. So that's why I'm just taking. You can just take whatever name you wish. And the curly bracket open, close. And after that, we are going to define our variable. So let me just put the comment and define variable, and what else we are going to define and what sort of variable we are going to define. So we are going to define integer variable, right? And what sort of integer variable do we have? As we discussed, right? So we have signed and oh, I'm sorry, unsigned variable, right? So signed integer, basically, let me just write this. Signed integer is stand for what? As you remember, signed integer stand for positive and negative, I'm sorry, negative values, right? And what is unsigned integer? It's simple, you know. If you know one thing, then the second thing is going to fall automatically. Unsigned integer. And what is unsigned integer? So it will contain only positive values, right? As we earlier had a conversation and discussion as well. So it is containing only positive values. And how they are going to, I mean, how we are going to define that? This is the main question, right? Let me tell you one thing. So we are going to define in the further code, and here we are going to define first of all age. Oh, my bad. Wow, what happened? Age, height, amount, balance. You can just go ahead and define as per your understanding whatever you want to. But here for the teaching purpose, I'm defining such thing where I can just differentiate two things over here. All right. So the age, what sort of data type age contain? What do you think? What is fulfill the criteria of the age? So because the age is not going negative anymore. So here we have unsigned integer, right? Which is uint. So this is the keyword, right? You have to remember. Oh, my bad. Okay, and what sort of variable type height contain? Like height also contain number, but it is never gonna be in negative, right? So this is also uint. This is also uint. Amount is always positive whenever you are putting or purchasing anything, so it should be possible. But there is a possibility in positive and negative in the balance because, the best example, your bank account, right? So whenever you are just, extra spend it on your credit card, then the balance is going in the minus, right? So here we can say it's integer, right? So hope this thing is quite clear to you all guys, right? So in which case we are defining what? So whenever you're taking your cursor over here, it's at on the U in, it is showing U in 256. What is it? Oh, it's showing here as well. Here too. So what is 256? So this is a kind of memory allocation where the uint is going to contain some sort of numbers with limits. So there is a limit. This is we are going to learn over here. So if you can see clearly, this is mentioned like integer 8. Whenever we are putting 8 range, so it is containing from minus 128 to plus 127. So whatever number is assigned in between, it will take only those values. But don't confuse with int and uint because we are talking about the int, and this is also going to be applicable for uint as well. All right, so there is no difference in a data structure, but yeah, there is a difference in the value. So 16 for 327682 to 32767, and this is so this number is basically that int 64 is going to take this much space to containing this number as the lowest, and this number as a highest point it is going to store. And if you put 8 over here instead of 7, it will lead you error, or it will not compile, it will not let you compile these number under int 64. It will ask you if you wish to take change your number to 128, or you may lose your number, either way, right? So and the integer 256, this is by default, so this is such a big number it is containing as a minimum, and this is the maximum number. All right, so hope this picture is clear because whenever we are learning the blockchain concept, so and already learned about like this blockchain is going to contain anyhow whenever you are deploying, it will charge a gas fee, right? We will discussed earlier. So whenever any code you are going to deploy over here, it is going to cost you a gas fee, and gas fee dependent on what? Yeah, so it is dependent on your length of the code. So here if you can see from one line to what line, it's 18 line, we have defined some keywords. So it is going to compile all those lines and charge the gas fee as per line. No, it is not. It is not going to charge you the gas fee for per line. Instead of doing that, so whatever you putting the forward slash, so this is the benefit, it is not going to be compiled anymore, right? So whatever your code present over here, in this case without forward slash, this code is going to be compiled, and this will charge you a gas amount. And how the gas amount is going to be counted, and what is the gas a fee, and how we are going to utilize a gas fee, we will go in have a greater detail in it, so you don't need to worry about that. So this is what I'm just explaining you in this moment. So uint, basically whenever you are putting uint, by default it is taking 256 memory allocation, but the smallest thing which we can see, so the int 8 it is smallest number whichever you're going to take. And anyhow, the age is not going to be that number as well, even though after 80 or maybe after 100, I never seen that any person who living here. So we have to just explicitly define our memory allocation, which is uint 8. In this case, whenever we are defining our the memory allocation, like what sort of memory you are going to allocate for the particular variable, and this is going to allow you to reduce your gas fee. I'm not saying it will discount fully, but yeah, it will. Instead of doing this, see, so instead of doing this kind of heavy things, you are going to defining only thing, I mean, only three characters, right? Oh, sorry, only three numbers over here. So which is less, this one or that? So obviously this one. So it will charge you as lowest gas as they can, because there is a the weight of the memory or consumption of the memory is less. Hope I'm clear about that. So this uint also obviously it's going to be 8 uint 8, and amount it's up to you, like whatever amount you wanted to what is the max amount you gonna be transfer. So it's up to you, you can just put it or not as per your business logic or as per your organization where you're working. So it's depending like the case to case, and balance you can also use that, but better you can just use 8 16, it's up to you. So here you can just say 16, there is no problem. Oh, 126, my bad. So 16, right? So there is no problem as we gone through earlier, right? Okay, after defining the integer, let me just move ahead and tell you about something which is known as string. So what data type string carries? So let me just comment this and write the string data type. My bad. So there is a two types of string present over here. So you said like what sort of two things in string containing? So in Solidity there are two things present over here. So one is bytes, and second is string itself. What is string data type? So the string data type is basically two types of. So one is bytes and one is string. And let's jump into and describe what is byte. So let me just write this code first. So bytes name, my name, terminate, string name, and my name. Oh, my bad. All right, so let me just go ahead and explain you what is the byte stand for and what is the string stands for. The byte says whenever anything already been present, or if you know such things where you are going to define. For example, like if someone or if you are taking a class in live class or the physical class, just take example for the coaching classes like earlier or tradition coaching classes. So there is more than 5 or 10 people present in one room, and there is a one teacher who just teaching them whatever the subjects they are for. So in this case the teachers knows all the students name, right? So the teacher is going to use, whenever he's defining the all students name, he's going to use bytes because the name is already been defined. They knows like this person is name what, that person is name what, and yeah, you can just use byte in this case. But however, so whenever you are not having any clue about what would be the name, then you can just use string. And trust me, 95% of the cases, like you are going to define your variable name with string. So you don't need to worry about that, the bytes and everything. So if you already been using string as a database to contain the characters, yeah, then go ahead and you can just utilize in this case as well. But I'm just giving you the clarity or the explanation about the two different things over here. There is a not such difference, but yeah, it contains a bit difference. Okay, well, let me just go ahead and define something for you, which is bool. Bool is stand for boolean. This is also a kind of variable, right? And this is stand for two statements, either true, false, right? So your statement either true or false. So whenever the condition is met with the the logic, it will true, or if it is not matched with the property or the definition, then it will give you the false. Flag. That's it. So flag is the name of the boolean, so you don't need to worry about that. What is flag? And also, so in your mind, you might be thinking like, how do we define then the float value or the decimal value? So let me just tell you, there is no float value and no decimal value. Why? So there is a no float value and no decimal value because in this Solidity programming language, we are not going to use, or the Solidity language is programmed in such way where the float value and the decimal value is not applicable in this language. Why? Then how we are going to define the dates? How we are going to define our like decimal values? How do we define such number if it is containing the float data type, right? So in this case, to answering all the question related to float and decimal, we are going to use in Solidity, it's called, you got it right, global variables. So what is global variable? There's a two types of variable. One is global variable and second is local variable, right? So there is a two type of variables, right? So one is global and one is local. And the global variables contains the float and decimal value. And we are going to have a look how the global variable is going to be used or replaced the float value and decimal value and how it is going to be captured. I mean, the global variables known as the predefined variables by the community of Ethereum. So let me just clarify this. So the global variable is already been defined by the Solidity team, and this is going to be an interesting part once we just move forward with the video, and we will also learn about the local variable. What is the local variable, right? And what is the global variable? So uh, hope this point is clear. Let me just give you the recap. So first of all, we are going to define over here the version of the Solidity. There is the implicit sign means that whenever the subversion is got changed, so all the logics is going to be compiled within this subversion anyhow. And once uh, whenever you just remove the cap or implicit sign, then it will stands for this version only. And if you wish to go ahead and change that the version, then you have to just come back to this programming interface, and then you can just implicitly change your version, and then you can just able to compile your all the codes with the new version. I mean, the second way to define our version is pragma solidity and greater than equal to the whatever the version you want to take and less than whatever version you want to take. This is the range between. You can just provide any range between versions, right? And after that, we learned about the contract variables, so what those are. So in integer which is signed and unsigned integer. So signed integer only stands for plus and minus or positive or negative value. Unsigned integer is only stand for positive value. In this case, we have seen some examples like age is not going to be negative anymore, so we are going to use unsigned integer in this case. And balance amount, in the balance amount you can use the integer as per your requirement or as per your wish. So this is there is no restriction like you, whenever you see the balance you are going to explicitly use the integer or unsigned integer in the amount part. But yeah, it's up to you whenever you are comfortable with that. If you've seen that this amount is going to be negative as well, then you can, it's up to you, you know. So what is the data type and what is the memory allocation with the 8 we have seen in the greater picture over here. So whenever we are using 8, we are allowing our database to consume as minimum space as it could. Right? So we have seen the string data type, which is byte and string. Byte is stand for which is already been defined such things or already some name are defined, and string is basically 95% people are using nowadays um, to define anything like which is not been defined yet. And if you want to just define your string, then you have to just use string. Simple. So the Boolean variables we are using the bool over here, whatever it's depending on your condition. Like if your condition is true, then it will, I mean, if your condition is going to be correct, then it is true. Then if it is not as per the logic, then it will directly show you the false value, right? So there is a no float and decimal value as well. And if we are going to use that, then we have some global variables which is containing the float and decimal value, but not explicitly mentioned over here. Like we are going to put it out some points or some decimal or some floating values. And there is a local variable as well where we are going to jump a deep dive into it. So be with me, and if you enjoy the video, then you can just, you know what to do. And if any suggestion for me or if any feedback for me from your end would be great. If you have any kind of suggestion for me, feel free to drop and comment on my video, so I will definitely go ahead and have a look. That's it for today. So tomorrow's session we are going to cover the enum part. What is enum? Let me just present you my slide over here. So hope you take it this cursor. So until here we have covered integer. In integer we have covered int and uint, signed integer and unsigned integer, and we have covered boolean, we have covered data type, and we have covered string. So far it's been completed already. And now from next video onwards, we are going to talk about the enum. What is enum? So the enum is stand for enumeration. So the what is enumeration? We are going to jump into the next slide and have a look what is enumeration in greater detail. All right. So until now, take care and enjoy your day. Thank you.